Welcome to the MotUS Edge, where we celebrate business, primarily youth sports facility management, leadership, and motivation. Co-hosted by Stacey Rowe, Cole Stott, Kevin Brubaker, and Casey Jones. We are here to fill your cup with knowledge, laughter, affirmations, and comfort knowing that you're not alone. You can and will succeed with the MotUS Edge.
Hello and welcome to the MotUS Edge. We're so glad that you decided to join us today. I'm here with Cole Stott, Casey Jones, and our amazing guest, Sierra Garvin. Welcome, Sierra.
Thank you all. Thanks so much for having me.
Go Vols.
Yeah, we're so
Thanks
glad
for
to have you
coming.
here.
Go Vols. Thank you. Great way to start a podcast.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Tennessee Vols real quick.
Let's do it.
Has there ever been a better time to be a Tennessee fan?
Listen, I think we say it every year, but truly, I think this is the year.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Basketball is amazing. Baseball is amazing. Football's doing great. Girls basketball's back on the way up. Volleyball team's doing amazing.
Wait a minute now. Didn't the baseball team just get beat by ETSU or something? Or was that Vandy?
Well, baseball's a long season.
Yeah.
Very long season.
Yeah, anybody's game there, I guess. So big basketball game? What, Friday night maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exciting.
So I jumped into it quick. Sierra was a dancer at the University of Tennessee.
Go Vols, baby.
Yeah, was that fun? Did you enjoy being a dancer at UT? What was that like?
Yeah, fun does not describe it. You know, there's not a word to describe being a dancer at the University of Tennessee. I mean, just cheering on the Vols, regardless of whether they're having a winning season or not, is incredible. But being a part of one of the most winning dance teams in the country is just incredible to see how that teamwork plays out, as well as just be a representative of the university. So yeah, best 4 years of my life for sure.
So do you still help? I see your posts sometimes. You at practice, do you go just kind of for support, or are you helping with choreography, or
a mix of both? So usually around national season, I get to go in and help them kind of tweak their choreography as we get ready for those competitions and nationals. But a lot of times just to continue to be a part of the program and hang out with the girls. And it's crazy going back now and meeting the team, because I haven't danced with any of these girls now that I've been out for 8 years. So I'm always like, hey guys, I'm Sierra. I swear I was a part of the team. I'm not a random person off the street or a random college student. But yeah, I love still being a part of the program and happy that I get to do that. And
wait until you go back to help the team one day and there's a dancer on it that's the daughter of somebody that you danced with, or
seriously
along
though.
those lines.
Yeah. Or like there's even girls on there now that I've babysat or like I've coached when they were like 7. So I'm like, okay, well, this is getting to the point to where this does not make me feel young anymore. But it's cool to see that progression for sure.
Well,
You're
you definitely still
young.
look like you could be
thank you.
a Tennessee dancer for sure.
I appreciate that.
What's your dance background? What got you into dance?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm from Sevierville, Tennessee, otherwise known as Dolly Parton's hometown. And my mom claims that from day one, when I was a baby, if they would play music, I would just bounce up and down. Now, I don't know if I really believed her until I had my own daughter, and now she does the same thing.
Awesome.
But my mom put me in dance about the age of 3, and I grew up at a studio in Sevierville and was trained for more classical ballet, loved the studio, loved my experience there, and danced at studio competitions until I was about the age of 15, and was really into jazz and ballet and hip hop and just really anything. I just loved dance. Loved being on stage. I loved competing with a team. Just knew that was my spot. Did some other sports, cheered as well, ran track for a little bit, but dance I had a passion in that. When I was in 7th grade, one of my best friends took me to a UT basketball game for the first time. And I did not watch a single second of the game. I was locked in with the dance team the whole time, and I was so obsessed. And I remember us driving back and his parents asking, what'd you think of your first game? I was like, the dancers were incredible. I loved them so much. They were so organized. They were just so spot on. They were so talented. They were just so happy to be there. They were like, no, the game. And I was like, oh yeah, it was cool. It was fun.
There was a game?
But yeah, we went to a game. But from that moment, when watching the dance team, I knew that I wanted to be a part of that one day, if that be in God's will. Was hopeful for that and 7th grade, started working and trying to learn everything I could about the dance team, going to all of their clinics, figuring out what type of competitions they go to, what style they had, who their coach was. And I'll never forget, shout out to Kelly Tafazzoli, who is still the coach. She used to do fittings for varsity, and I cheered at my high school, and she was fitting me one time for cheer uniforms. And I remember bebopping up to her as a little 8th grader. I was like, I'm going to be a part of your dance team one day.
Yeah.
And she still makes a joke about this. She was like, yeah, I've never had a cheerleader say that and me think that that was a possibility, but you proved me wrong.
That's awesome, especially from 8th grade.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just knew, some people, you have that moment where you know that that's exactly what you want to do. And that was my prayer and my hope and my dream. And when I was a sophomore in high school, started going to a studio actually in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, Oak Ridge Academy of Dance, where they specifically train for college teams. They go to all-star competitions. They understand what that team dynamic looks like for college atmosphere. And Pam and Hannah are both coaches there. And if I wouldn't have switched, there was no chance I would have made the dance team. They helped pave my path to be a Tennessee dancer, to be a 2-time national champ. It's a long-winded version of my background of how dance has really been the biggest part of my life.
I think that's really cool.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
I was just going to say, really cool of like, man, in 7th grade, I knew the direction that I wanted to go. And then you took action to make that happen, which is awesome.
Absolutely.
Because in 7th grade, I did not, I'm 54 years old and I'm still not sure where I want to go. So
yeah, it's all right.
But so many people, at a young age, they see something and they want it and they desire it and they go out and they just take it. They just put in the work and put in the effort. So that's a pretty cool story.
Thank you.
So I assume while you were dancing at Tennessee, you actually did watch a couple of the games. So what was your favorite game that you have danced at? Either football, basketball, whatever.
Specific game?
Yeah. Is there one that stands out in your mind?
Saturday, November 12th. No.
Yeah, specifically, that's a tough question.
Maybe one where Georgia won.
Well, what I was going to say was the one that I was most upset I wasn't at was my senior year when we beat Georgia with the Hail Mary.
There you go, Casey.
So that game, we had decided the seniors, we were going to take a step back and let some underclassmen travel to an away game. And we all were a little disappointed in ourselves when we were watching that game. Like, being a Vol fan, obviously you wanted to cheer for them. But in that moment, when the Hail Mary happened, we all just kind of looked at each other like, what did we just do? Why are we at this game? That one stands out as what I definitely regret not going to. But
that's awesome.
Honestly, all of them, just being in Neyland is just an undescribable feeling, and running through the tee and just the sound and the band and just everything about it it's undescribable.
And I feel like it's gotten even better. I was lucky enough. I cheered at Tennessee the exact same time that Peyton Manning was there. My favorite memory was at Alabama when we beat Alabama, and it's still in all the documentaries and everything when Peyton's up on the ladder and he's leading, Rocky Top.
That's awesome.
I'm holding the ladder. You can just see my arm, but I'm there on the ladder. I still get some playtime on ESPN. But I feel like the experience, whoever's over, like the game day experience now at the University of Tennessee, it's spectacular.
It's incredible.
Like I've never been anywhere else like it. So just it's for our listeners, if you hadn't had a chance to go to a Tennessee game, you should check it out.
You need to go.
Pretty amazing.
Actually, you have to go.
I actually have not been to Neyland. And
what?
I've been waiting. I know. I've been waiting on Cole to invite
this
me.
year.
And
let's do it.
Go.
When Georgia plays at Tennessee this year, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Hey, that would be a good one to
go
to.
Let's do that.
It's a meetup. Let's all do it.
Yeah. So Sierra, after you graduated college, you landed working at the Knoxville office in varsity varsity for Cole, right? Is that
yes?
Or was there something in between, or that was your first job right out of school?
Kind of in between. So that was my first job right out of school, but I was a UDA instructor for 2 summers in college, my junior and senior year, and loved it. Knew that I had a passion for dance, obviously, as I said, but I also had a passion for helping girls understand, this is my dream, and being someone who could advocate and be a mentor in that process of helping them step into that dream was pretty cool for me. So I made some connections through UDA and met Cheryl Pasalacqua, who offered me a job at Varsity Knoxville. And I believe, Cole, it was 3.5, almost 4 years that I worked there and helped run the dance and cheer competition. So for me, that was the absolute best first job I could have had, because leaving the university, being an athlete, being on the dance team, to have gone to a job that maybe I was just sitting at a desk or doing sales or something that wasn't involved with dance, I think would have been a really hard cut off. So being involved in that, to be on the flip side, to be behind the scenes, to be an announcer at an event or running the stage or whatever it may be, really awesome experience at Varsity Knoxville with Cole and his team.
So let's talk some trash for a second. What was your favorite part of working for Cole and your least favorite part of working for Cole?
There is no least part. It's all good stuff.
It doesn't matter now.
Who did you like better, Sierra, me or Cole? No.
I'm just kidding. Genuinely, I'm not just saying this because I'm on a podcast with him and I'm representing you guys. I do not have a part that wasn't a favorite working for Cole. I genuinely believe that Cole was an awesome leader and was someone who cared about his people. I think that was the best characteristic about you, Cole, is that as a new person working at the office, you got to know me. And still to this day, you'll ask about my husband or my daughter by name. And that to me is just a huge testament to who you are, because you ran a huge company and are incredibly successful as a person, and to know people individually speaks volumes.
Well, thank you for saying that. And Stacy will attest to this, and not just because you're on our podcast today, is, I use you as an example all the time. It's like, we need another Sierra, because Sierra, when she first started, and I think this is true to dancers, which is something I would love to hear your thoughts about, is, we've had, a couple hundred cheerleaders, dancers that have worked for us over the years. And for some reason, not all the time, but for some reason, a lot of the time, the dancers' work ethic seems to be just a little bit different. But I tell Stacey all the time, it's like, gosh, if we could have 2 more Sierras, we'd be set to go. She came out of school and you were mature beyond your years. And it was just great to have you part of the team. What's your thoughts on this? Is there some secret to dancers versus cheerleaders?
I was looking for some trash talking, and you guys are being all nice to each other.
We went deep.
Seriously.
I think a huge testament to my character and who I am is my parents and the way that they raised me. My brother and I were their number one priority. So first and foremost, a huge thanks to them, to who we are. But there is something different and unique about a dancer. All athletes are going to learn about the team dynamic, but something about dancers at a very young age, you have to learn to put yourself last and to put your teammates first. And for most of the time, any team that I've been a part of, that's been true. And the teams that hasn't been true, it changes very quickly because the coach recognizes that. And you guys have seen it at competitions. Teams with dance do not work if they're not all on the same page and they're not all dancing for each other. And that was something that was huge at UT, that I still, when I go coach girls or when I go choreograph for teams or work with anyone that's a part of a team, I always say dance for someone else. That was something that Kelly taught us at UT. We would do a prayer circle before we would go compete anywhere. And we would always say who we were dancing for. And I never really understood that at first, but then as you actually start dancing for that person, you realize it's a lot easier to give up on yourself than it is when you're dancing for someone else. And that principle is applied to the rest of my life. When you're doing something for the benefit of someone else, you're going to have a much better result and much more stamina. Maybe that's why dancers are different.
That really hits home with me. I know that, in coaching cheerleading, and this, hopefully this comes out right, but oftentimes I'm dealing with, an all-female team, and it is so important, the bond that they have, and so important that they're able to work together. And to me, absolutely, far more important for the girls than it is for the boys, because I've had the opportunity to coach both, but I've I've got two boys, and I watch, them play football and baseball, and man, there's like nothing going through their heads. Sometimes they're just trying to win the game. Like, whereas, so that guy the quarterback is going to throw the football to the receiver to win the game, even if him and the receiver don't get along.
Absolutely.
And I don't find that true all the time in females. Like, no. Girl, we're all going to lose because I don't like you.
No, and that's the truth. And that's a big reason as to why I love teams so much is girls by nature are more emotional. And with teams, specifically cheer and dance, if you don't have everyone on the same page and people aren't getting along and they don't respect one another, you don't have a team. And it makes a difference. So I know you've seen that as a coach, Casey.
We've definitely seen it, and that's where everything comes in. I mean, the coaches, the team reps, everything comes into play to create experiences for these athletes really before they ever get to the floor. Because if they haven't bonded and created friendships, and that doesn't mean that they all are, everybody loves everybody, but you've got to be able to have that respect. And just like you said, I really love what you said about, I'm dancing for somebody else. Love that.
I'm always kind of fascinated by what you said, Casey, because I feel like boys and men to some degree have this natural, just like bromance kind of thing. There is not the same level of, I don't know, like women and girls, especially. I feel like as we grow into women, we get better, about it. But as young women, young girls, we're sizing each other up constantly like chickens
Absolutely.
in a hen house, and it is hard to kind of break free of that. I feel like it's just kind of what I don't know. It's like I feel like most women are kind of born into that, and you eventually have to break free from that and be like, hey girl, like I'm going to straighten your crown. I'm going to bring you along with me. Like it's all right.
For
Like
sure.
we can both be great. I don't have to stomp on you for me to be great. And I don't generally see that in males versus females. Not to make this
I think we're not
like a women
smart.
versus men conversation, but you know what, Sierra, we don't have a lot of women on here. So
no, truthfully. And Stacey, I mean, I think I've shared this with you. That's a huge part of my testimony of who I am is some of my best friends when I was in high school ended up, because of the competitive nature that women have, bullying me for a good bit of my life. And, that's a big reason why I ended up leaving my studio as well, is so that I could find that team dynamic where, yes, everyone was competitive, but they were competitive for the team and not for themselves to be the star or the best version. And it's still true to this day, especially now with social media. I see it with girls that I mentor all the time of, well, so-and-so is going to this school. I saw them post because they went to this clinic and like, I always wanted to go there. So I don't know if I can go there now. I'm like, why can't you both go there? Like, what's the problem? Why can't you both go there together and help each other? And there is this natural instinct in women a lot of times, and just in general with humans as well, to be better than the person that they're in the room with. And I think that's healthy in one way, but also you have to take into the account that we're all different. And a coach told me when I was young, there will always be someone better than you, but only you can be the best version of yourself. And that still rings true to this day. Like, you are not going to be the best at everything, but you can be the best you can be.
Yeah. So before we go on to what you're doing now, Sierra, I do have a question. Being from Sevierville, Pigeon Forge, we talked about Dollywood earlier.
Yeah.
Were you ever in any of the shows as a performer up there? And if so, what role did you play?
Oh, man, I was. So I worked for Smith Family Theater. It was actually my first job.
Which is my wife's family's theater, just in full disclosure.
Yes. I always forget about that connection.
Yes.
But it was the Hazard County Hoedown, and I was a Daisy Duke.
Sometimes the Hazard County Hoedown.
I like it.
We sang and danced, and I was a waitress, and it was a really fun first job. But now, like, going into interviews right out of college, when people were like, "What was your first job?" I was like, because it's just like, I was a Daisy Duke, because that's professional and what you want to share with people.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But I did, and I loved it. It was so much fun. And
did y'all have a hootenanny afterwards?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No.
After the Hazard County Hoedown?
Yeah.
So it was Christy, my wife's cousin, Charlie Bob, and his dad, Charlie, and then Jim, her uncle, her two uncles and her cousin. And then Jill, who's, part of her family as well, was female performers.
Such a fun group of people to work for, though. Like, it was a blast.
It was so fun. So just kind of off subject is that carried on like their show. Like on Sundays after church, we go to her grandparents' house out in Sevierville and hang out. And they would just a little bit. Yes, they would just keep on going. Yes. At home, the way they were on stage was the same way they were on Sunday afternoon, sitting at their house.
I love
it. Fun group of people to be around.
Yeah.
Well, we love having former dancers and cheerleaders, especially those who have turned into entrepreneurs on our show. If you would like to be a guest on our show, you can inquire on our website, www.joinmotus.com. That's JOINMOTUS. Oh my gosh, I almost misspelled it again, .com. Click on the podcast tab and fill out the form that says be our guest. And we're so glad that we have Sierra here today. Before we get into hearing about all the great, fabulous things that you're doing now, we actually had our very first dad joke submission, which I think is super cool. We had a listener, an avid listener, send us a request to tell their joke. So this is from Steph in Florida. Hey, Steph. Hope you're listening today. And tell your dad hello from us. I'm going to turn it over to Casey to tell our submitted dad joke.
Boom. So excited. Very first one from a listener. So here we go. What is the difference between a hippo and a zippo? Anybody? Sierra?
What's the difference? I tell you what, my husband brings a lot of dad jokes and I haven't heard this one yet. I don't know.
All right, here we go. The difference between a hippo and a zippo. One is heavy and the other is a little lighter.
Well, how did we ever come? I know Casey is the king of dad jokes, but how did we ever come up with doing dad jokes?
Oh, it was, I did it. I feel like I was like, we need to have Casey and Kevin tell dad jokes because they're both
Stacey's idea.
Corny dad joke humans.
I've been telling the same jokes for 30 years. Literally over and over.
They think they're funny.
I know.
When people give you that just like obligated laugh, you're like, okay, I'll keep telling these. I am funny.
Right.
Many of mine are not suitable for podcasts, but like I said, I don't have any new. I don't have any new material, so this has actually been great. I'm getting some new material. So thank you, Steph.
Yeah, I'll be sure to have my husband submit some dad jokes for you guys. You'll love them.
Yeah, we'll take all we can get. So. I want to take a quick second here before we move on to tell you guys about MotUS. MotUS is a community of gym owners working together to help each other grow. As members of MotUS, you get access to our Gym Owners Vault, which includes templates from every aspect of your business. We continue to add new resources constantly. In addition, you are added to the private VIP Owners Facebook group, as well as the opportunity to join the monthly MotUS webinars geared towards gym owners. You also receive amazing discounts from our Prime Alliance event producers, the Cheer Expo, Choice Events, All Out Brands, All Day Cheerleading, and our awesome affiliates Infinity, Vault Event Media, Cheer Sounds, Bookshop Fundraising, and much, much more. Join the movement today at www.joinmotus.com. Once again, that is www.joinmotus.com. We mess that up every time.
Join.
That's an ongoing with the dad jokes. Stacey and Casey have, and I don't read the commercials, but they have the hardest time spelling our website.
Well, I start singing the Mickey Mouse song every time. M-I-C. I'm trying to spell it that way. So
we promise if you join MotUS, we do know how to spell.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Actually, if you read some of the things we put out, we may not know how to spell.
No. So. we do make a few mistakes.
But you know what you're talking about. That's what matters.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. We've made all the mistakes, Sierra, is really the truth. We've made all the mistakes.
Haven't we all?
And we're sharing those mistakes with people so that they can hopefully avoid them should they heed our warnings. That's the reality of it for sure. So, well, let's talk about your new business. So you're a new mom, you're juggling starting this new business. I'm going to see if I get it right. Imago Dei Consulting. I believe that's correct.
Beautiful.
Okay, great.
Yes.
And you're going to get to spell your website before we get out.
There we go.
Here.
Awesome.
So we'll see if you can spell better than Casey and I can spell, but you're juggling motherhood. You're juggling a new business. You're really just kind of still, in my eyes, recently married. I mean, it's been a few years now, but
4 years.
Yeah. So you got a lot going on. So tell us all about that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I guess to lead into that, after I worked with Varsity Knoxville for a little bit, a mentor of mine in the community who had always helped me understand more about leadership and teamwork. And this totally connects to my history and how God has written my story. But I've always been fascinated by why some teams work and some don't. And I think we all can say the same, is that you've been a part of teams. And some people you want to dive a little deeper and understand why. And some people are just like, it's just nature of the beast. This team wasn't the best one. But that was something that I wanted to study and be a part of and understand more. So had a mentor in the community. His name is Jerry Krill. And I met with him every so often. And he helped me understand a leadership development program that he started at Clayton Homes corporate office in Maryville, Tennessee. And for about 2 years, just got to know him and got to know his coworkers and what he was studying and how he was learning about team dynamics and how he was helping people, and got to start leadership development at Varsity Knoxville under Cole. So that was an awesome opportunity. But eventually started working under Jerry and just loved the stuff that we were doing. We were working with personality assessments to help people better understand who you are most naturally, so that you can work with people who are completely opposite from you. Because I think we've all seen and met those people that are completely different. They have a completely different background. Their preferences are completely different. So naturally, we assume we're not going to be able to work well with them. But what I love about what I do is that I get to help people understand, no, this is your personality. And it's what is most natural to you, but that doesn't mean that you can't work with the person who's completely opposite. In fact, that's the person you want to pair up with so that you guys can watch out for the things that you aren't naturally gifted at. It's a great partnership if you can see it that way.
I would say that's very true for the four of us. Kevin's not on the podcast today, but our group of four, I would say we if we took the color personality test that you do, I bet we are 4 different colors.
Which is great. Yeah. And that's what you want for a team, as long as people can recognize that that's a benefit to the sum of the team versus just the individual. But worked at Clayton for 4 years, and my husband and I, we knew we wanted to start a family and got pregnant with our little girl, Eliza. She just turned a year 2 days ago.
Oh, so that's awesome. Exciting.
The sweetest year. She is a doll. And I know probably every parent says that, but she is just so sweet. She's so happy. We just love her so much. But when we were pregnant with her, we were praying over whether this was a season that I took a step back and focused on being a mother, or if we were going to put our kiddo in daycare. And for parents out there, you know that daycare is so expensive and also so difficult to find, where you don't have to be on a 3-year wait list. Like, I don't understand how that works out to begin with, because you're not pregnant for 3 years. But I mean, that's past my paycheck.
Hey, got good planning there.
Yeah, exactly.
You sign up beforehand, I guess. I'm going to sign up for daycare for the imaginary child that I hope to have in 3 years.
That I hope happens. Yeah. But prayed about it and ultimately knew it was this time for me to take space from the corporate world and focus on being a mom. And knew that I ultimately wanted to start a consulting business one day, because I have such a passion for teams. I love seeing teams go from not functioning very well to being able to work with them and them understand that if they have a common goal and respect for one another, they can be an extremely successful team. But I just thought that was going to be on the back burner for a little bit with focusing on being a mom. But as soon as I left my job, I had so many different groups reaching out, asking me to come speak at a conference or come work with their team bonding that they had planned out, or whatever it may be. It was like, as soon as I left, I had 2 or 3 groups I was working with monthly. And my husband and I both kind of took a step back and prayed over it and realized that maybe this was a season that God was leading us into opening up a business. So yeah, I tried to figure out what to name it, because obviously you don't want it to be like leadership development 101 or find your best self, because everybody has that.
It reminds me of MotUS, Sierra, because every time we talk about MotUS, people are like, what's MotUS?
What is that?
What's that mean?
Yeah. But you won't forget it. You won't forget it. So one of my friends was helping me research.
Might forget how to spell it, but
that's okay. That is all right. One of my best friends was helping me figure out what would be something. I wanted it to be something that was bigger than myself. And Imago Dei was something we came across. And it's either Hebrew or Latin for in the image of God. And for me, what I love is helping people understand that God has created each of us. I'm not going to go into a huge sermon here, but God has created each of us to be unique. And he's given us the certain skill sets that we have for a reason. And he wants us to learn those, develop those, and discover how we can serve the people around us with those specific attributes. So to me, it gave me a purpose for my entire business. It makes sense for what I do because I get to help people discover what that is for them and then help them grow from there. So that's how Imago Dei Consulting came to be. Very thankful to have found that name. It still gives me purpose every single day. The business is less than a year old. So still working on all the things that go into creating a business. But yeah, that's how Imago Dei came to be.
So what's been your favorite part of that, of creating this business? What's been your most fun aspect?
Most fun aspect? It's really cool to get emails and phone calls of people saying like, hey, I heard you worked with so-and-so and they had so many great things to say about you. Would you come work with my group? And just getting that phone call is so validating and also really cool to be like, I'm a business owner. Like the thing that I dreamt of doing since I was a little girl that I honestly didn't think I was capable of, I'm doing. I own a business. So having that validation and those phone calls from people who are saying that they need what I do is pretty awesome.
That is awesome. I think about what you do and I think about how it relates to, it's been a big challenge for me because, they always say your biggest strengths are also your biggest weaknesses. And I feel like one of my biggest strengths is I can get along with anybody. Like I really, it doesn't bother me when people are different than me. And I actually enjoy that. But, it turns into a weakness from time to time when I don't understand or I don't see how other people don't get along. And that frustrates me, especially within our company. It's like, oh man, this group here isn't clicking with this group or this coach isn't clicking with this coach. And, I typically don't have those issues because I click with everybody. But I think that made me for the longest time just kind of push those things aside and just, hey, they're going to work themselves out. It'll be okay. We don't need the team bond. Hey, y'all just get along or get in a room together and figure it out. Yeah. And it doesn't work. So what you're doing, the services, I've told you this before, but I definitely need to get you down to Marietta to work with our folks. So
Sierra, I don't know this for a fact, but I would guess that Casey is a blue.
Okay. Very relationship oriented.
I feel pretty confident that if he took the personality test, he would be a blue. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I did take it. The problem is I don't have a great memory. As we know, I'm the guy that reads the book and can't tell you who wrote it.
You have to be a blue.
Stacy wrote it.
All right.
So.
It's all right.
Relationships are important.
Kevin and Cole are definitely they're probably oranges in my opinion. Cole, you've taken it, right? Are you an orange?
Yeah. I've been orange, I think most of the time.
I think you're orange with blue, just backing up just a little bit.
Yeah. Which that would make perfect sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that Kevin he might even be a blue, but like a really, really high blue, or he's an orange. His top two are definitely. And then I'm the random
green.
Yeah.
I love it. Every team needs a green.
Yeah. So for our MotUS members, we've had Sierra come into our conference in Nashville a couple times. I don't know if we've already shared the big news. Sierra's actually got baby number 2 on the way.
Yes.
Due Congrats.
Due August 23rd.
All right. So the conference is August 24th and 5th. Are you going to be able to be there?
I'll be there.
I'll be there. That'll be perfect.
Bring it on.
Yeah, it's actually the last weekend in September through October 1st. So if you haven't got to see Sierra in action and you're a MotUS member, please come to the conference. You get to see her live.
Well, I don't know. We got to see. That's like,
she can do it. Baby number 2 is a lot easier. You just keep
this
on
is
going.
true.
You know, my first Eliza, she decided she was going to come like 12 days late. So surely this one will come 12 days early or something. So
yeah.
Actually, I'm going to predict August. You said due August 23rd?
23rd.
So my birthday is August 18th. So I'm going to predict that day because I have literally met probably 40 people with my exact birthday. So it's
8/18.
Yeah, it's a popular birthday. So
I like it.
Lots of Leos. So two girls, huh? Right?
2 girls. Yeah. It's funny. When we were pregnant with our first, we both just assumed it was a boy because boys always come first in our families. So when we found out it was a girl, we were shocked, but definitely thrilled to take on being girl parents. And now I don't have a sister. I have 2 awesome sister-in-laws, but to raise sisters, I'm really excited about.
That's pretty cool. My husband had like a full-blown panic attack when we found out that our first child was a girl.
Amazing.
He just in his mind thought it was going to be a boy and was just ready for a boy and was like, yay. And then it was a girl and he was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? How am I going to do this? I don't know what to do.
I wish I could get to it quick enough, but when we did the gender reveal or whatever with Eliza, my face, because I was confident it was a boy, I didn't know I could make that face. Yeah. It's hilarious. My husband still pulls it up and makes fun of me. He's like, remember this? I'm like, yep, I do. That is not me.
That's
but yeah,
cool.
It's 2 little girls.
So what's been the hardest part of starting your new business?
Yeah. I think hardest part is just not knowing where to start, because you know multiple people who own businesses and you ask them how they got into it, and every story is completely different. So the legal side of things in the details, which details are not a strength of mine. So having to call on people who are good at details and the logistics and the legal side to get everything up and running was extremely difficult. And still there's so many times where I'm like, did I forget to do something? Am I a legal business? And I am. We ended up getting a friend who's she's a small business lawyer who helps get small businesses up and running. So thank goodness for connections and relationships. But if it wouldn't have been for her, I don't know if I would have felt comfortable getting everything up and running and actually opening a consulting business. So that on top of, when we decided we were going to open it, I was 4 months into being a new mom. So still figuring out what momhood looks like on top of opening a small business that you hope is successful is definitely something to figure out how to balance.
Busy.
Yeah. Good difficulties though. I've learned a lot of things.
Well, we are so proud of you for sure. And we have enjoyed having you come to the MotUS retreat. We've had you in with Premier several times, and I just love watching you. I love watching your journey and all the things. It's super great. Go ahead, Casey. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was just going to say that reminded me early on, before I started my business, I went and met with an accountant. And one of the things she said that stuck with me was, hire people to do the things that you're not good at.
Absolutely.
Because I'm not great at details and organization, and I think that is something we pride ourselves on.
Casey, what are you great at? No, I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding.
People person.
I feel so terrible. That's usually Kevin's job. Right. And I just said something not nice and I feel horrible.
Not much surrounding myself with great people, maybe.
That's not a lot. Some of the wisest people.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Our company's known for, Stingrays is known for how organized we are. And that's not me. But, I did learn early on to hire the people that are good at that and stay out of their way and let them do the job. So,
yeah, that's great leadership for sure. And you don't see that a lot, especially with groups that I work with. A lot of the times leaders want to do it all for themselves, because a lot of times when you see a leader has stepped into that leadership position, they've come from a background of being the all-star. And the all-star doesn't always make the best leader. So being able to have that humility, Casey, and recognize where you maybe have some pitfalls is great. And also it's human nature. We're not great at everything. So being able to need that help and ask for it is huge.
I remember that shift at 25. Another thought, and I'm sure I've mentioned this 100 times as well, but at 25, it came into my head because I thought I was pretty good. I thought I was a good coach. And then I had this idea of what if everybody around me was better? How good could our organization be if every single person here was better than me? And I had to put fear aside and my ego aside and then go and try to attract people that I thought were far better and superior at me, at everything. And that's when our company really started to take off. So
that's awesome. That's awesome.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Stage 8 dance brands. You can give your dancers the best competition experience when they attend a Stage 8 Dance Brands event. Stage 8 Dance Brands is by dancers for dancers. Also, don't miss out on your chance to attend Stage 8 Dance Nationals, which will be rebranded in 2026 to Stage 8 Dance Grand Finale. It's an awesome way to end your season. For more information, go to stage8dancebrands.com. That's stage8dancebrands.com. Let's see if I can spell STAGE, the number 8, DANCEBRANDS.com. Stage8dancebrands.com. Boop, boop.
Boom. Nailed it.
Awesome.
All right. I can spell. All right. So we have a tradition. We always read a quote from Simon Sinek. That's our second tradition. We do the dad jokes and we do the Simon Sinek quotes because I'm obsessed with Simon and I'm convinced that we're going to have him on the show one day because I'm obsessed with him. He's going to somehow stumble upon my obsession and come on the show.
I love it.
So today's
dreams
quote,
come true.
Yeah.
Yes. Today's quote is, tell us what you think about it. So today's quote is, value is something people feel, not something we tell them that they get.
I love that.
What do you think about that?
That's rich.
I'll let you think on it for a second. To me, I wanted to make this point is that, Casey brings this up a lot is, what we do in cheerleading and dance is expensive. But if the value's there, people will pay for it. And I think that's a mistake that a lot of business owners make is that they're sometimes afraid to charge what their service is worth or what value, people really get from that service. Because again, if the value's there, people will pay what it's worth.
Yeah. No, I love that. To me, it hits home because value is your life. If you aren't chasing after something you value, where's your drive coming from? And to me, if you have value, your feelings are going to back that up. And when you truly value something, like for me, for example, I value teamwork and I value respecting others and I value understanding who you are. And my value and feelings, they go hand in hand. They're tied completely together. And if you don't have feelings with what you value, you probably don't value it. So that's a pretty spot on quote in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think it's important to acknowledge, for any of our business owners out there listening, I think the key is, value is something that people feel, not something that you tell them that they get. I hear it when I talk to a lot of, people, business owners all the time. I don't understand, my employee doesn't feel valued, but I gave them a bonus. I pay them X amount of dollars. Whatever. And that for some people, again, going back to everybody's personalities, for some people, right. For some people, that thing is how they feel valued and that works for some employees. But for some people, that's got nothing to do with it at all. And it is how you make them feel. And it could be just that they feel heard or they feel seen or, they feel a part of the group. They feel included,
appreciated.
Yeah. And it's super important. I think that you figure that out in the people that are in your circle and you give them what they need to feel that value, assuming that you value them. But you as the leader can't it's not a blanket thing for everybody. Everybody isn't, the person over here that you're giving all this time to make them feel seen and heard may really just want the bonus, so you've got to know that about your people. And I think that is, that's
a huge challenge. Huge.
It is. It is.
That's a thing. That's a thing that will keep me awake at night. I mean, I've had that experience plenty of times.
Agreed.
Where somebody that I really value, heck, I love that person. They're a friend of mine. They work with me. I care about them. And then they state that they don't feel valued. And like I said, that'll keep me up all night.
I am the same way, Casey. It settles in my gut. How did I miss that? That's one of the things that I personally, and I feel like you're the same way. I get really bothered by that when I get that wrong with a person.
I do too. And then I often react in the wrong way because, well, I did this and this, and let me tell you what I've done for you, which to your exact point relates to this quote of if people don't feel valued, you can't tell them, you're just talking to the wind there. So it is.
Well, I work with groups too to help them define what their values are for their company. And there's nothing harder than when you start working for a group and they're like, here are our company values. And it's like, well, what if I don't believe in those?
Yeah.
So I think it's important to get your team on board and ask, what do you value? And how does this relate to our mission? Because once everybody has bought into the company values, you're going to succeed. And like you said, appreciating people as well, like knowing their love languages or how they're appreciated. You could write me a letter. And Cole, I know we did this when we worked together. Like if people wrote me letters and just said they appreciated something I did for them, I don't need the money. Yeah. I'm thrilled to know that I helped you and that you saw the value that I brought. But some people want time off. Some people want the days to spend with family or want that money so they can go do something they value outside of work. That's so difficult because you can't just ask someone like, hey, would you rather have maybe you can. Yeah. Hey, would you rather have a day off or a check?
Hey, do you want to work for free?
Yeah. If you want to work for free, it's a great time.
A day off and a check to be able to do something on my day off. So,
exactly.
take both.
Sierra, it's funny you talk about love languages, and my husband and I will be married 25 years this
Congratulations.
July. I know. Thank you. Which is kind of hard to believe, right? Because I'm so young.
Yeah.
But anyway, we will be married 25 years and we are still, I feel like, learning new things about each other. And as you know, I got pretty seriously sick over the last couple of years. And it wasn't until that I learned that my husband's love language was to do things for me. Like our entire lives, all he wanted to do was let me do things, like let him do things for us. And of course, I'm such a hard-headed, stubborn, independent person that I'm like, I don't need you to do this for me. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. And for, all these years, that's all he ever wanted. And now I make a conscious effort. Like, you want to carry my suitcase to the car? Go ahead and carry my suitcase.
Be thrilled.
Like, I'm capable of doing that, but you go ahead and knock yourself out because if that makes you feel good, I'm here for it, buddy. But it took me that long. So I think that, it's all of that is just, it's an important lesson to learn. So before we wrap up, Sierra, I would love for you to, I'm going to put you on the spot. But just maybe give a message of encouragement to our listeners out there. Maybe there's, other young women listening to the show or other young men listening to the show that want to be entrepreneurs and maybe they're a little nervous and they don't know where to start. And so I think that you would be awesome to just give them a little bit of inspiration for that.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it definitely can be intimidating. I mean, I know I've been there, I've been in those shoes, but I think anyone is capable of doing whatever you're passionate about. If you are passionate about something and you know that it's going to serve and help people around you, find the right people to help get you there and never stop believing in yourself. It is so easy, especially in today's age, to look around and see what someone else is doing and see the highlight reel of their life and think, well, my life doesn't look like that, so I'll just take a backseat. But I genuinely believe that God has a purpose for every single one of us and has a bigger story than anything that we can dream of. So if you set your values, you follow those passions, and you stay true to who you are, I think you can do anything you set your mind to.
Very well said. And just to add to that is some of the things that we've done in our new companies and we've launched, and I feel like we've done a lot in the last couple of years. I get asked, it's like, how did you guys do that? How did you accomplish it? We tried. We believed in ourselves. Yeah. We put forth the effort.
We take a step.
Really, really hard. But I think it's so true, that a lot of people will just kind of sit back and watch things happen and almost, feel sorry for themselves that they're not living that, perceived, life or perceived, success in business. But you gotta put yourself out there, take some risk.
And don't be afraid to fail because you're going to fail.
We have failed that's how you learn. And over and over and over again. I'll fail at something today before the day's over. It's young.
If you're not failing, you're not taking big enough steps.
Yeah. You're not trying.
I agree with that. And Sierra, you talked about the highlight reel, and that is something that I think is so toxic, unfortunately, for our society. Yes. And I just, I feel like I have trained myself over the years, and I'm really proud of this actually, because I really try to do a good job with this. It is easy to see somebody's highlight reel and feel less than, or feel, whatever, just be in your feels. And I have trained myself to see that and smile and go, you know what? I'm really happy for that person. I'm really proud of them for that moment, because it is a highlight reel. And that doesn't mean that they still don't have, other moments or other struggles or whatever. We all do, but nobody's putting that out there for the world to see, right? We're all putting our best moments out there, the perfect snapshot. And so I think that for any of our listeners that, get caught up in that, because it is so easy to do with social media, if you change your mindset when you see something and you feel that like insecurity creeping in, you purposely put a smile on your face and go, you know what, I am thrilled for them. It immediately just, I feel like changes for me anyway. I do become thrilled for them. And I'm like, you know what? That's great for them. And it can be both. They can be doing that and be awesome. And I can be doing this and be awesome.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, I can relate. I try to, anytime that creeps in, what I try to do is refocus and find somebody to help. Because if I can ever help someone, that gets me out of myself and gets me out of my pity party and then puts me in a better place. And let's think about it. Anytime you help someone, at the end of that, you always feel better. You're always going to feel better and be in a better spot. And then to your point, Stacey, it's like reprogramming your brain to celebrate our friends and our neighbors and our things like that. Because human nature tells us like, man, I love my neighbor and we're great friends. Oh my goodness, they hit the lottery and won $1 million. Now I'm mad at them because I didn't hit the lottery.
Jealous.
Yeah. But like, hey, I want to sell. That's the thing. We've got to reprogram ourselves to celebrate our friends and loved ones and neighbors. So
I'm drawing a blank of who this is from, but there was a book I read one time that talked about when you look at the end of someone's life, the healthiest people are ones who have chosen to serve and celebrate those around them. And I think that rings true when you serve people, like you said, Stacey, when you're celebrating or excited or helping someone, it just brings a completely different joy to your life.
Yeah.
Well, we hope that you guys have enjoyed being here today with Sierra. You're fabulous. Thank you so much for coming on. We really enjoyed having you.
Thank you, Sierra.
Thanks for having me.
Be sure to follow us on YouTube at the MotUS Edge and on Instagram and X at Join MotUS. Wherever you listen to your podcast, give us a like. If you like what we're doing, give us a shout out and let us know that you want to hear more. And if you are a gym owner, join the movement today and sign up for MotUS. Thank you guys so much for listening. And we're so excited for you to have the MotUS Edge. Bye, y'all. Have a great day.
Everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to the MotUS Edge. We hope you had a blast. Join us next week for more on business, leadership, and motivation. Subscribe and follow the show where you get your podcasts. Subscribe to our newsletter at joinmotus.com. The MotUS Edge podcast is produced by ClantonCreative.com.